I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Community Engagement Commission meeting on Wednesday, August 16th, 2023, 6:00 p.m. Roll call. Commissioners: Aaron Asner. Here. Summer Darrell. Here. Cynthia Godinez. Here. Bill Norman.
Here.
Mark Saba.
Here.
And Jennifer asked to be excused.
I make a motion that we excuse Jennifer.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
Who seconded?
I did. I'd like to make one minor modification to the approval of the agenda. And amended, I'd like to add below discussions in business, a D is called written report 2023. Motion?
I'll second.
I move that we accept the minutes from July 19th.
Okay, so,
Well, that's not the motion that's on the floor.
so the motion that's on the floor is that
Oh, to add.
we're going to amend the agenda. And I'm gonna go into written report 2023 under discussions and business.
I don't think so.
I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda to add line item D for a written report.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent, motion carries. And then next, approval, the minutes of July 19th, 2023.
Hey, Robin, can I add one other item?
Yes, you can, to amend the
We're gonna do
agenda.
that, yeah. Under discussions in business, can I add an agenda item? I'd like to recommend we add an agenda item E for discussion on processes for the Community Engagement Commission related to surveys.
Different processes for CEC related to survey. Your motion to amend the agenda.
I'll make a motion to add E processes of surveys for the CEC.
Well, didn't Aaron just move it?
Oh, he rec.
No, that's not.
I recommend it. Does someone
He
else-
recognized it.
She moved, made motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Any other amendments to the agenda?
Let's just keep going.
Okay. That's what I thought too. Let's roll.
No.
Let's roll. We are on a roll. Okay.
Just gonna use mine for that.
It's gonna drop them in.
Me too, yeah.
Just trying to mess with you, Robin, that's it.
I love it.
Whole point.
Okay, next. Number 3, the approval of the minutes of July 19th, 2023.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of 2019, 2023.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
2019.
Did I say
You
20?
did.
Yeah,
I meant to say July 19.
July 19th.
We're still on your side.
I'm still sleepy.
Let the record show. So the minutes of July 19th, 2023 is approved. Are there any public comments online or in the audience?
Nobody's on.
Comment?
Yeah, Dan, when can we go home?
Did everybody get one of these?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I will try this out.
Okay, next, City Hall updates, the handout, everybody get a chance to read those, and did anybody have any comments on the updates? Comment, but it's related probably to the budget and the podcast. But when we get to the budget, I think that we need to we probably need to recognize that in the budget, don't we, the podcast cost?
No,
It's all free.
Oh,
So
okay.
Summer gave us quite a bit of a discount for her services, so. we're
Yeah.
good.
I only
Oh,
charge for the first part of the trivia, not the end.
okay, that's.
I thought it was the answer they had to pay. If they didn't pay you, you didn't give them an answer.
Okay,
Did you have a coupon with QR code? That's what I
Yeah.
I like free,
want.
It's free, yeah. It's, I mean, you know, a lot of hard work goes into it, but otherwise.
but,
Yeah.
yeah, the daily cost, okay,
I don't
so,
think as a city we can advertise, so I think we're pretty much stopped at that place right there.
okay, and is that the same thing then? With, as we continue, okay, I know I'm getting ahead of the game, for the budget too, for the city academy,
Yes,
we won't need
The
to,
City Academy is a city hall project.
city thing, that's not us.
thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Any observations, questions on the updates?
Oh, quick question, and maybe this is later. The ribbon cutting on August 29th. Are we, as a commission, trying to all be there, a representation of us?
I'll be there. You gonna be there?
They're certainly all invited, yes.
Most likely we'll be there. In case you guys don't know, the ribbon cutting is August 28th at.
For trailhead,
For trail.
because we had two coming.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the bridge.
No, the trailhead is August 28th at
10
10 o'clock, and then the bridge is September 9th at 1 o'clock.
I'll be there in September.
That'll be nicely symbolic for whoever can get to the trailhead one, because that was the first project
Yeah.
in this group.
So they're doing the ribbon cutting the same day as the bike ride?
The bike ride is kind of the kickoff of the
Of the ribbon
Yeah,
cutting. Gotcha.
that's kind of the part of the ceremony.
Got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
I just heard today there's also gonna be golf carts,
Oh, golf carts?
so.
Good, I'll be there too.
All right, well then I'll come.
Yeah. there you go. Bring your golf cart, man, let's just drive to the ribbon.
A football fan.
Yeah, that road.
I would like to ask if somebody, this doesn't have to be answered now, I won't be able to attend on the September 9th farmers market, so if anybody does a Kramer overpass, I don't know, maybe someone could consider taking that date for me.
Well,
Yeah.
wait a minute, Kramer overpass at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
Okay, it says here September 9th at 10 o'clock.
So there's,
Oh, so the,
so,
excuse me, the golf course is at 1.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, yeah.
I'll bring that up with staff, because,
The
a
mayor.
lot of the regulars would have conflicts with that.
Yeah, that's it, we may not even have a booth that day.
okay, so
I'll
maybe,
check with the mayor.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We'll
Mark.
check, I'll check, like, I'll ask her Saturday.
Thank you.
You know, everyone's gonna be there at Kramer. Unless, I don't know, they hate to ask staff to come in Saturday.
I would be available if we do have a booth, we need somebody there.
Okay. I'll let the
Okay,
mayor know.
okay, so, thank you.
Yeah, I'll talk to her Saturday. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll let me know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, we're gonna leave you in the dark.
So we go, so Mark, the to-do is to ask the mayor about September 9th, and Bill can be there to
If we need.
man the post if needed. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I'll follow up on the trailhead. We do have a, little promotional sign if anybody wants some of those to distribute. Let people know about that in 13 days.
I'll take some.
Okay, there's like 6 of them out there right now.
Okay.
We also have one for the Kramer Bridge event. If anybody wants to distribute those, just let me know.
Will you have handouts for those at the farmer's market too?
Yeah,
I think we can get those.
yeah, why don't you put them in the pack, well, did they find the packet?
Yeah, they were at a Sturt Center Park.
Oh, that's.
Where at again?
I think I may have heard Rocky Hill Park. I don't know why.
Oh,
Which one?
Rocky Hill Park,
For the.
All the stuff that goes.
this
in
farmer's
the
market
booth
stuff last
at
Saturday.
Farmer's market. It's a big
Oh.
container. Someone delivered it to Rocky Hills instead of, yeah, I don't know, must have been a new guy.
All right, there we go. At least we know
So
where-
poor Robin and Tom had to do this and answer questions, which is just like the old days, right? Robin?
It was a test.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what Tom says, it's like the old days, we didn't have all the props.
Do you think you have people who attend those who are representing a business or organization who want a bigger piece as opposed to like a smaller card for their home or
What are you talking about?
the handouts we have? They're looking for a big
Small
sign.
one, I think
I think a
there's more
small one.
informative.
QR code, you know, the standard.
But are they, do they tend to be, do they seem to be residents to you, or are they
I know that.
people associated with a business who want to put it up in the business? Do you have any idea?
It's, okay, when I do the calendars and the businesses, I've got about 15 businesses that and I can, if you wanna do a bigger one, I can, head on out on Friday.
Well, I'm primarily asking for farmers market to give you the proper materials for the people who.
Oh, at the farmer's market, that's people, and the small one will be fine.
Okay.
No, I was just wondering if you wanted to post them in any of the businesses, let them be aware of the.
We're totally open to that, yeah.
No, and I would suggest you're gonna do it for the businesses, put them both on one. Then they can just stay up until the night. Cause most business windows don't have enough room for it.
They're
Yeah,
two, they're
it's-
2 weeks apart.
You got a perforator?
We just barely got.
Okay, I got some new one. Where I hang up on him, but then, sir, there's like, you got it.
Come to the ribbon cutting,
Yeah.
2 weeks after the first event.
Okay, so why don't we just do handouts and then Mark,
I'll have some.
I'll talk to you.
if you would like to make those so that Mark can put those up at the businesses, I think that'd be advantageous.
And for the record, the Spokane Symphony concert is already covered. Those have been distributed by somebody.
Good.
Okay, so that one's done. Perfect.
And that was on September 2nd or 3rd.
September 2nd.
Okay. Anything, discussions in business, moving forward, upcoming project ideas, so Cynthia had some ideas for our budget. And he was going to review these with us.
There's a lot on this. So on the backside, towards the end, you can see number 6 is where I have the project questions. When I was reviewing the notes that I took from yesterday's workshop, some other points I ended up taking away, and I didn't know if we want to address them here. Because they may be like part of our purpose, work plan, and incorporate into our budget. So, I'm looking at this going, man, it's a lot to kind of go over, so I'm happy to just stick with the project ideas. Or I can go quickly through some of this too. Just at the top, you'll see that I've got 1 through 6. And basically the points, that I kind of thought about for goals for us, or maybe help to develop a work plan. I noticed that they said, develop a network. And you can read through these, I'm not gonna just read them here, but then you can see I kind of go through some of them with more ideas. So before I just start doing that, can I get your opinion on if we wanna talk about this or table it and stick with the events?
I think we have to approach and we have to come to a decision for third tonight on the budget and what we're going to ask it, just because on August 25th, it has to go to the city clerk. And then I believe on August 30th, it goes to the mayor to sign.
Okay.
So it might be good for us to use it as homework.
August or October. I don't think the,
Well, no, the mayor is at sign.
no,
The mayor prepares some recommendations.
right, okay,
Okay,
And then that goes to council.
then it goes.
then it goes to us.
Okay.
Paul does, yes, she does, and then goes.
That's like 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, that is, and I'm sorry, yes, it just,
I think
I had
it's
the August
something like that.
25th, and then, so,
Okay. That's. Project, I was stick with project. For now,
I believe we should, just so we can make sure and just get the budget honed in. However, I'd like to use this as homework because this is important.
Yeah,
I just think that the conversation around what we heard last night is a different conversation than perhaps, or a more extended conversation than the immediate need of a budget request. And we were there, so we should keep those things in mind as we discuss the budget. I think this is, not soon, but later.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
I was just kind of looking at it now, during this.
so,
You had a wealth of information come to you last night.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate that tonight's meeting, the night after that, happens to be loaded with budget stuff. It's too bad, you can't address all the great stuff from last night. But I'm hoping you can retain that information for the next 4 weeks, take notes, rewatch the recording from last night. I think that's a great and necessary topic for next month.
yeah, and that's what I would say we could put on to discuss for the requested items for next agenda is let's focus on that city council workshop that we had and some of the main points that came out of that we can continue and move forward. Is that workable for everybody?
I think that and definitely Cynthia's time there too.
Yes, yeah, and this, so that's homework.
This will give us time. There's a lot to digest here.
But any specific project ideas Cynthia has on here
I do.
that could be related to budget.
that's what I was gonna say, yeah, we should kind of scan through this and see what we can, throw in our budget conversation.
So number 6 at the top, you'll see that that's where I've got budgets in there, or projects, excuse me. So if we go down to project suggestion questions, I wanted to ask these questions first because it kind of helps me narrow down like where should I spend time brainstorming. And so the questions I had were, well, what kind of projects do you guys want to do? Should we host an event? And I'm talking like smaller events. This is not something that's crazy. This is something that we could put together fairly easy with our network of helpers. Once we've established that network of people from the HOA or other community leaders or those 5 guys at the coffee shop that we heard about last night. So, or we could construct something. And I'll get to that in a second. Or should we buy something? Like, so what kind of project? What can we do? Those are the things that I thought about we can do just off the bat. So then what I'll do is I'll talk about the events that I've thought of, and then I'll stop in and let us kind of discuss about it. So under A, in the back side of the page, you can see I've got events. And this isn't my best idea, but I thought of like a Super Soaker event, Super Soaker 2023. It's a smaller version of Barefoot in the Park. Something like that, because we could host a simple event with balloons and water slides or me. And, I guess I'll keep going. Voice your opinion 2023. Here's another idea. We could do a dinner event, but there's food and live music. We could have tables set up with some funny questions and maybe some current pressing issues that we really want to get an answer for. You could give your answer and pick up a token. Yes, this is the coin idea as an event. How could we do this? Like, what's the legality of it? Could it be a fundraising event? Where sponsors provide the rewards? I'm not sure, but it's just a thought. It's an event that we're putting on, we're doing, where we can kind of engage the community and get some questions from them, set them out. What about a dance? People like to dance, line dancing, square dancing. Get the community involved. It's kind of old fashioned, but maybe it would be worth it. Something to dive into. That would be like a ball pit, a mud pit, maybe shaving cream pit. Just ideas. I don't know. Yeah, so it's just brainstorming. Come on. What can we do? Do we want to host an event? Those are some event ideas, if we do wanna host something that I thought of right off the bat. We could brainstorm more event ideas, if you guys think hosting an event is something the CEC should get behind. Since you guys appear to be thinking about that, I'll continue into the build stuff. So if we decide to build something, here are some ideas that I had for a build that we could do. What if we decided to invite people to participate in a competition in which teams compete to build the best techie thingamajig? Because we're Liberty Lake, we're tech savvy, let's get local people and businesses to compete in like a robot war, something like that. We could look into it and see if there's something that fits us and something that we could, that is kind of like hosting an event. We're not actually building, so I guess that should go in the events, but this is the one I actually really kind of like. If I have a favorite, the community build project, I thought about, what if we build a fountain? What if we go out and we get community members, business leaders, built with the help of like local artisans, whoever's here in the community, to help participate and build a fountain that's in the shade of Liberty Lake. That's portable. What if it was like on a trailer that people could borrow and post and like use at their event? Like if Rotary was doing something, or like a church wanted to borrow it, or anybody wanted to do their own event, they could borrow the fountain. That's a community built fountain with the help of maybe other commissions like the Park and Arts Commission. The thought, it could be like a wishing well. People could throw coins in there, make $20, $50, give it to charity. And then the last idea that I had is if we buy something, this is like back to that idea of the civic pride, or, you know, gear or swag stuff, because people would love to wear their hats or shirts. We have flags and they put them on their golf carts, and I have mine hanging in my window. But what if we really dig into this issue to see if we can make it a possibility? And maybe the problem is that it needs to be an unofficial city logo. And what if it's available online and people can download it and put it on their own hat? That way they're not buying it from us. I don't really know if that's gonna cost anything, but this is the result of my brainstorming session. Thank you for your time.
Great, good ideas. CEC members, thoughts, discussion.
I have to say, I think this is wide of the mark. We have organizations in the city that are doing this, whether it's the Kiwanis or the fact that we have Barefoot in the Park and Winterville, which are pretty magnificent.
Don't forget 4th of July,
Yes.
Symphony, and that's what
And we are living at a time, I'll bet if we ask everyone in this room, if you're looking for more things to do, how excited are you about adding to your calendar? I don't think that it is. I mean, this is an attempt to engage, but I don't think that it is within the scope of what we are being asked to do. We're being asked to raise awareness and invite participation, specifically dialogue and conversation about issues. I looked before coming at comments that we've received so far about what to be our budget priorities, and you know, it smacks still of the same 10 people perhaps. But I added a comment, so it's 11 at least. And
At least 16 now.
yeah, yes. I think it's that kind of thing that we are expected to energize. And I don't see line dancing or building a fountain or hosting a dinner as leading us to the achievement of that kind of a goal. Might feel good, but I, for one, do not need any more invitations to participate in this or that. Thank you very much.
I agree. I think as I So just, this was something I did when we first asked for budget stuff.
Yeah.
When, after we listened to last night's workshop goals, it kind of brought it back to the things that they were asking, like, are to develop a network. And that includes like reaching out to HOA and churches and clubs and developing a snooze for the Liberty Lake, that we can bring it to council. That's why people want to be in our network, because that's what we can do. That's what we can offer when you're in our network. To inform citizens and gather opinions. You know, how could we do that? Well, what if we had an online presence through a Facebook page where you can put out polls and you can gather in? We were also asked to document and maintain records of this stuff. And so what if each month we're talking about who did we talk to, let's tally up, what did we actually do, so that at the end of the year, we have a full account of everything that we've done, and we can have, that we're not trying to back up like what we missed. So I agree, like when we talk about, for me, like project ideas, I'm not sure, I mean, I agree with you too. I kind of thought like, well, what do we do? Do we do these kind of things? Is this something we do? Or are we more of like, well, what we do is develop networks. What we do is inform our citizens and gather their opinions. And then how do we do that? Do we go door to door? Do I say, hey, I'm gonna do 5 of my neighbors to ask them to participate in the survey that I got going on. And then I'm gonna be accountable to that, because when I come back next month, I'm gonna say to the commission, that's what I've done. And I ask my 5 neighbors to ask their left one and their right one to also participate in the survey. And then that way, at the end of each year, these are the things that we've done. They're measurable and they can be documented for history's sakes, things like that. So that's kind of how I felt after the workshop. I was like, I don't really know about these things anymore. The front part of this actually seems to be more important. Like, for example, do we have some EC bylaws?
We do, yes.
Yes. And the mission statement.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
It's the best of times.
Oh, that
it was
used
the
to
best,
right here, the subcommittee.
it was the best.
It's all caps.
Then the problem I started to run into is like, when you talk about budget, it doesn't really cost anything to have an online presence, and it doesn't really cost anything to go door to door.
Well, I agree with all of that. Well, it begs, perhaps, are we aware enough, as we have this discussion, of the online presence that already is there? For example, if you go online to respond to the priorities question, the system itself gives you a variety of ways to then invite people within your network through Facebook, Instagram, email, to participate in the survey. So to a very real degree, that is already there, and we might be guilty of not using it enough, but it's there and available to us. And so, you know, again today, so I put on Facebook to all of my 18 followers. I don't know how to get there.
We'll take it.
Friends.
We'll take it.
That's its friend. And so we can and should be doing that as just making sure that we're using the tools that are there that don't need to be created.
Do you think maybe being accountable, like each month, if I'm gonna come in and I'm going to sit down, I'm going to then share what I've done, like maybe keep track of that for documentation purposes?
Well, I think that this is on the conversation. I think we're going a little bit out of the budget. But okay, here's one idea, you're like the purchase idea, but I don't know if the city has changed their mind on that, and that's swag. Swag does open up possibilities at the farmer's market or at any other venue event to draw people, to give them piece of swag, and then say, by the way, can you do this survey? We have this great survey, we have this great platform, here's what it needs, it does. So I've been on that before. Everybody knows I have talked about swag, but has the city of Liberty Lake changed their opinion on that?
It's not the city's right to change its opinion. It is called state law.
So it's still, okay, so state law is,
A city cannot use public funds for providing personal gains. The flags that were out there, those came through donations, so yes, the city can accept donations from individuals or businesses to distribute through their means.
I think some of our best swag is just like the calendars and stuff that
Yeah,
people
yeah.
need, people actually need, so maybe that comes in the form of a handier way of giving it out or something, maybe it's magnetic, maybe it's something, but it's just our sort of information in some way. I just quickly wanted to say that I think this is a really good list of events, and I think what I've seen so far is when we're trying to come up with ideas for something, and we have a list and we have a place to look for them, that's gonna be good use for this, right? So we're like, okay, well, what could we add on when it's like, hey, what else would, the question was like, what did you like about Bearford Park? What else could we add? Maybe we could have a ball pit, maybe we could have a whatever. So keeping this list for the events that exist already.
Excellent idea.
And the other thing too, is a lot of these things, like the dance, like Kiwanis has their father-daughter dance, right? So, some families are like us, we want to, but that date, of course, is the same day as other things, and it doesn't quite work out. But I think just as we become more familiar with the things we already have and try to enhance them or have a presence there, I think that's where, again, we're not using any budget, we're just being present in those places. And then speaking on the budget, we just need to figure out what an umbrella is for some sort of either, anything from incidentals to bigger projects, and we can call them special projects or we can call them whatever we want, but look at this, sort of see what informs us and then make sure that our budget allows for that, because I know it was a weird time, but to be told no for mailers when our whole thing is like trying to engage people because of a small budget issue, we can't be running up against things like that. We have to be really, we have to ask big, because we don't even seem to, yes, we have some big ideas, but for the most part, we're just trying to figure out how do we do this very sensible thing. So I think, look at all this stuff, think in the back of your mind, what does that look like to you? And then make sure we just get it covered in the budget as best we can.
Do we have our list from last meeting?
Yes, we do.
And actually, following up on that in connection with Cynthia's suggestions, you could come up with just a general events budget item
Right, and that's.
that would cover
Right.
some idea you may have next year, whether you use it or not. Whatever, at least you've allocated the budget request for that.
I like it there for the park, if they had the line dance type of situation. I sort of think that'd be fun. That's it.
I feel a bit like Bill would be a good square dance caller.
Yeah,
I haven't even really do that.
Yeah.
so looking at, did that help at all?
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I kind of, I'm looking at this and I find that I spend more time kind of thinking about, for us, or for me personally, like to attend as many events as possible, because there are a lot. But when you're asked, what's your project ideas, I have no guidance at all, so my mind goes to some crazy ideas.
They're good lists.
To bring that back in to like, if we show up and if we use what we have, which are share, like maybe then if we're accountable when we show up to a meeting, we should talk about what we did. We need to share. We need to push the share button. We need to have a stronger presence and show up at farmers market. And I know it's volunteer, but if that's what we're here for, is to do this commission, that's what it's going to take. I'm happy to show up. But then what does that cost? What is the budget for that?
Well, let's look at the budget. And so here's it, you have a handout called Community Engagement Commission 2022-2023 report.
Oh, boy, okay.
So I drafted, David sent something out, he said, do you have any edits or changes? So I did. And so on the third page, it says budget 2024. This section is the list and cost. We have quarterly postcards and or mailers, so we figured $20,000. However, I don't know if that's enough, because last night at the workshop, it seemed like the city council was interested in having more like newsletters and that type of means and methods that would be outreach. So I think there was a couple of to-dos on here. Bill, you had one to get the cost of mailers. And then the other one was a splash flyer, and that was Mark. So what did we have on that?
So I went to the post office. I learned going online that asking about postal rates is a little bit like opening the tax box.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
So if another person were to go and ask a different set of questions, you might get some different answers, but I think this is pretty solid. Their reference for this is an every door delivery. I believe, one of the beautiful things about this is that we don't need to address the cars. So all the real estate is available for what we want it to be. And we deliver them to the post office, and they're just included in every mailbox. The criteria I've listed here, the first is that it must be at least 3.5 inches high and at least.
Yeah.
9,000. Yeah, so that first page there tells you, sort of defines what the product has to be. I figured that second bullet is the one that is most relevant to us. The first one, I don't think we want anything that's 10.5 inches long, but not over 15 inches. That's probably too big for what we're thinking of. And the last one, more than 1/4 inch thick. Well, I don't think we're gonna be packaging. That's, again, not the intent here. So I thought of a 6 1/8 inch high, but not greater than 12. And I drew that here so that you would get a sense of the dimension. The height being the minimum that it's allowed, so it can be up to 12 inches if we wish. And I chose the 8 simply because of the proportion, but it could be longer than that if we wish. But that shows you what it would look like. And to do that, and we would be using, I believe, a cardstock, because this paper isn't substantial enough to work. It would accept it, it was just on paper. So a cardstock, and to send 5,000, which I just gleaned from the conversation is approximately the number of households in our zip code, would be $990, which comes out to about just under 20 cents each.
Now, that's just for postage, right?
That's just postage.
But that doesn't count for the card or the printing.
No. My original idea was to use some dimension that would allow us to do portions of paper sizes that we already had, not have to trim anything. But that doesn't seem to be possible, or, I mean, we could send 8.5 by 11 sheets. But that gets into a different price category.
Right.
Anyway, so, about $1,000 to mail, if we were doing 3 or 4 or 5 times a year, that was about the cost. And it didn't matter how many times we were doing this. The only question was, how many are you doing with each mailing?
Okay, so out of the 20,000, you get a little total, then it'd be 1,000 to mail each order.
Each, yeah.
So that
however
would be 4,000 then per year for mailing.
You know, as we get into this, I would recommend that you vote on each individual item, just so it has the backing of the vote of the group when it goes to the next phase of this. Specify as much as you can what the nature of the project is, as best as you know, its quantity in an example like this, and approximate cost and, or, well, the budget amount you want for it.
Yeah,
For each item, just again, so it has the backing, each item of vote from this group.
So if we did, let's say for the mailing and for the reproduction costs, quarterly postcards and our mailers, we budgeted $20,000. Does the group agree that that's ample budget for that?
That seems,
Yeah, and I would say that's.
well,
Mark was the one that says,
it's count on $1 per item.
yep, $1 per household.
okay,
McAvoy?
Yeah.
okay.
And that was for reproduction of the production cost and mailing.
Oh, I think if you.
Yeah, that's like with regular postage, for if you're doing EDD and you're getting 500 printed on the nicest cardstock I can imagine. Where in the? I mean, I love asking high, I just wouldn't wanna look like we didn't do our number, cause this number makes sense for what this is.
Right.
And then for the printing costs, where is the rest of this coming from?
You know, we went by Mark McAvoy's.
Right.
And I put 5,000, he said, no, that's per quarter, oh, yeah, 20,000, that's how we got
That's what he
that.
said, yeah.
I have to talk,
Yeah.
I figure we'll do the design in-house. I don't know if we attach a cost to
Well,
that.
it's my job
Yeah.
description.
Yeah, and then you get it printed for like,
25-30 cents a piece.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean-
under $500 for 5,000 of them.
Yeah.
So are we looking at an additional 1,000 per, so 2,000, so are we looking at 8,000 then? Maybe we cut it in half and go to 10,000?
I mean, 10,000 to me sounds like a good number, but I mean, I wouldn't want to be the person who made it short, but I just think that, looking at the rest of our budget, maybe that's something we look to sort of get more clarity on when we see what all we're talking about.
Are we all thinking
We
of
have to agree.
multicolor in both sides?
Well, I mean, we have other items on this. Yeah, multicolored.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But something, what we had was visually attractive,
Yes,
and it should be.
yes.
So we do it right now, okay, I'm thinking 20,000, maybe too high, and so. One option I heard was cut it in half, that'd be 10,000.
Alright, so baseline, I mean, this is obviously not a
Yeah, yeah,
quote,
good.
90 cents to $1 per card, that's a 6x9 size. So call it $1 a piece.
Yeah.
So that's,
We have 5,000.
5,000 times 4 is 20,000.
I know.
Remember, we
That's-
got
that's-
620.
I mean, but again, I mean, are we getting a discount? Do we have a mailer person that you use? And another one's like,
That's what
I mean, it's.
There is
it's
no
gonna be a
mailer
little-
discount. I have that already.
Or no, a printing discount. Oh, do we have a friendly printer that the city uses or that
I don't
doesn't
know
look great for
that the
things?
city has done both mailing and since I've been here.
Okay.
Write 20 down, see if they say yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's make a motion, does everybody agree with the
I make a
quote?
motion, that for mailers, we budget. Take to city council our recommendation of $20,000
Okay, is there a second?
For how many?
for 5,000 mailers per quarter times 4.
Yes, because they're $1 a piece.
They're $1 a piece.
Mhm. And that's per the research also that Aaron's doing.
Again, that's really loose research.
That's okay, it's better than what we had before.
It's not anything
And we'll caveat that, the Aaron's loose research, okay, now. Mark made the motion, is there a second? Yeah.
Well, let's go with the second and then we
You
have
have to second the one.
Okay, I'll
Let's
second.
go with the second motion.
now discussion.
Yes,
So just, if we do this, wouldn't it be wonderful if the $20,000 allows us to do something that is more maybe targeted? That we're learning all along, we're doing these, we assume 4 times a year, but we really want to do them when we have issues that we want to draw conversation on. So maybe the fourth quarter is terrible to get anybody's attention. So maybe they aren't exactly quarterly. And maybe in there, we learned that we've got an audience, I don't even know where this is going, but we do some other kind of outreach that is a mailer. I'm just saying, $20,000 might allow us to be a little creative.
A little flexible, maybe we'll only do 3 mailers.
So,
You know,
yeah.
we don't know.
Yeah.
You may want to not specify that you're required to do those every let's just say you want to do 4 during 2024.
I think that's kind of where I'm at. I just wanna say, if we just say it's mailer, postcards, and
Okay.
mailers, I
So
think it's
So let's remove quarterly and put
print
postcards
material.
and or mailers.
And my question is, are you incorporating inserts into Splash with this, or is
Well,
it?
no, that's the next one. That's the next one. That's the next one. Don't go there. We haven't made a motion on this, David.
So,
So now let's remove quarterly, just say postcards and or mailers. Does everybody feel that that's ample enough for us? $20,000.
Up to 4 times a year. Up to 4 times,
So postcards,
up to,
postcards and or mailers up to 4 times per year. Okay. Any discussion or? Okay, so what's motion postcards and or mailers up to 4 times per year, $20,000.
so just, but can we just back up?
Okay, so let's back up.
Just one back up.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes, we can.
Here's, to give a more accurate representation of the cost. Because I feel like this is more valid than what we were talking about before, okay, so.
Okay,
So this is a legitimate printing company. You can do stuff online, a horizontal rack card that can get mailed, that's 6x9. Nice paper, glossy front and back. 5,000 at 40 cents a unit, so $2,000 covers 5,000 households.
We're up to 60 cents. And I don't wanna,
I know, and I go back to Summer's point, because I think in my experience dealing with mailers, that cost, I mean, $1 a unit for a rack card to get delivered.
No one would ever send anything.
I mean, that's a lot. That's what I'm saying, like, I mean, so we could say 20,000, but then I would say we should be able to do a heck of a lot more households than,
what is the next size bigger?
if you go bigger,
Because I'm saying, they weren't
you go 6 by,
approximating when they said 6 1/8 inch minimum.
yeah, you go 6 by 11 and it's.
No, it needs to be the 6.
Guys, it has to be a little bigger, so you'll 7.
Or 8. I don't think that's, because no, the minimum, it must be at least 3.5 inches high. So that's.
And
And
has to
be
be
one of
of
the
those
others.
three.
And it has to be at least 6 high, so it has to be 3.5 by 6, that's the minimum. You have to 3.5
6
is
and
one
8.
dimension,
Right?
yeah,
6 1/8 by 3.5. Right?
that's the way I read what they're saying, is it must be at least 3.5 inches high, and at least that, and meet at least one of the criteria below.
So,
So it could be a 3 by 10, and based on what they're saying, but not greater than 15.
so it can be 3.5,
I mean, I wouldn't
it
do
can
it,
be 3.5 high and you're saying it's 6.
Well, if there's any criteria, the third piece of information, it's only to do with thickness, not with
Right.
the dimension of the
right,
size. So to me, that's 3.5 high and the thickness.
right.
Is that, am I reading that wrong?
Yeah, but it says more than a 1/4 inch thick.
Yeah, but at least one, I don't know who does a 1/4 inch thick.
No,
paper.
there's
I mean, that-
Right, no, but I think
I mean,
that's.
yeah, and then. At least 10
So,
inches, I mean, this is,
I would say Aaron's information you found online gives you at least an approximation,
yeah,
which you can vary from, but at least that gives you a ballpark.
I mean, so
So-
even if you went bigger, you're 25, you're 50 cents a piece. And I would say realistically, if you say 75 cents a unit. Printed front and back
I got
and,
okay, thank you.
and mails, that's, I mean,
Okay, so, okay, I could.
I mean.
I love this $20,000 budget. I'm just gonna say yay, so I mean, it's fine.
I just wanna be able to say that we can do more with 20,000, because if we can say, hey,
Right.
we can do it at this cost for 75 cents a unit. we can reach not just the households 4 times, but we can actually, instead of reaching 20,000 households, we can reach 35,000 households or 30,000 households now. Now we can do not just a blanket mailer that's gonna hit every resident once or twice, 3 times. But then we can also do specific targeted mailers to smaller subsets and audiences that we're not getting response rates from. Right, so that,
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
is that we
So it's like,
do
we can still ask for the 20,000, but now we can be more strategic with how we're using it. And saying, we have the flexibility and being creative with how we want to deploy it.
And that's what they asked us to be.
We can deploy these by mail route.
Right, yeah, exactly. And so
Okay,
if we can go, going back to the city, because we know we can geofence that. Get that information from where we're getting the responses.
yeah, and we can do more targeted,
And then we
it gives us
smarter
more
about it.
flexibility. Okay, so,
Okay, we can keep it at 20,000, even though it does not 50.
Well, so how many households, so if we did 20,000 divided by 75 cents,
yeah,
well, how many households does that give us?
20,
Or
okay.
no, that's going wrong.
Can I ask a question? So when it goes to council, do they either like object or approve and then that's it? Or would they say 20 is too high, we'll give them 10?
No, they won't, they'll look at the bottom line.
And then we're just
and
like,
make
yes
their
or no?
decision. Well, not yes, no, they'll adjust accordingly.
Oh, so they might, so we could ask for the 20 and they still might be like, that's too high, let's do this.
Certainly,
So we'll
so
reach about 27 to 28,000 households at 75 cents a week. For 20 grand.
Which we don't have any households in the related.
Right, but that allows us to say,
Yeah,
hey,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
It allows us to do it more
Yeah,
now
times,
we can saturate it.
and we can even
I see what
like
you're saying. Yeah.
target, and,
Perfect.
because, okay, so how about postcards and or mailers scratch off up to 4 times per year, $20,000?
Sorry, say that again.
I took off the quarterly and put postcards and or mailers, $20,000. And then it gives us flexibility, because like, as was mentioned, we might want to do a target population. We might want to do every household. We may, I mean, it provides the flexibility.
Oh, and we could say, you know, if the city's probably gonna want some sort of validation as far as number of households. Right, so, you know, with that 20,000, you know, to validate that number, it's an estimated reach of 25,000 households. Is a good safe number, because if we do smaller runs of printing, the printing cost per piece goes up. Right, so the more you do,
That's
the
true.
cheaper it is.
Right,
So if we can say, hey, out of that, we're gonna reach 25,000 households, but $20,000. You know, be able to reach the households, what is that, 5 times over in theory?
yeah,
So
In theory.
that's something I'm assuming the city would probably want, city council would probably wanna know those numbers.
I think you're correct, you need to quantify something here, not
Yes.
just,
okay.
is it $20,000 for one survey?
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah,
So, let's try this over again.
okay,
I'm trying it. Postcards and or mailers reaching 25,000 households. Approximately.
Well, are you reaching 25,000 different households?
No,
No,
Okay, that's not how you phrase it.
That's how you're phrasing
right,
it.
that sounds like we're going out to,
We're going
Post
down, and that's why we should say 5,000 households, maybe 5 times,
up to 5.
up to 5.
oh, okay, I like that.
can I propose perhaps something like
Yes.
mailers, e.g. quarterly postcards, Zen City engagement, et cetera, sort of broken down a little more like a line item budget with some flexibility.
Okay,
So like mailers, e.g., and it gives us some like, these are some of our thoughts. And then you could say, you could throw some numbers in there too, reaching, you know, our 5,000, approximately 5,000 households quarterly, et cetera.
okay, mailer, okay. Discussion on that, on what Summer said. Mailers, okay. Say that again.
I said mailers and I said parenthetically, like e.g., quarterly postcards, Zen City engagement.
Zen City would have nothing to do with the mailers.
Well,
No, well-
it might be an invitation to participate in the survey.
Okay,
Yeah.
as a subject.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we've got our QR code on there, you know, that sort of thing. Also, again, to what Aaron's saying, that's where we're getting some of our information as to who we're trying to reach about what. And then, you can do some sort of hyphen or something that we could follow the same format for the other budget items, saying like, targeted towards or reaching the 5,000 households, approximately 5,000 households quarterly or whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna try this over again, see if,
I'm not gonna say anything else. Mark's got a cold dinner somewhere.
No, I ate working.
Okay.
Here, that's what
I'm an outfit guy.
okay, that's what I need.
I was gonna be, so shut up. Keep going.
so I have, okay, let's mailers, and then we'll parenthetically say, e.g. quarterly, excuse me, quarterly report cards,
No postcards.
but I like quarterly report cards too. Quarterly postcards, did you say density survey participation,
Density engagement.
engagement?
How about we say survey engagement?
Oh, okay. Survey, got it. Survey engagement. Maybe 5, etc.
Yeah. That's our umbrella.
That's our umbrella, targeting 5,000 households
What's that,
quarterly.
reaching our? I don't know, anyone?
I wouldn't say.
Again, do you? Yeah.
I would
you want to say-
I would do quarterly out, we already discussed that.
That's true, yeah.
You may want to be vague enough to say multiple times during.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. It's like Bill said, the fourth quarter is a dead quarter, ain't mailing anything out that quarter.
And I'm gonna get irritated with 4 postcards from.
Multiple times during
Just
the.
a little supplement.
No, we're gonna use a QR code.
Yeah,
That is Bill's cell phone.
okay, let's try this again. Mailers and. e.g. Well, if we don't want to use quarterly, we probably should just say e.g. postcards, density, survey, engagement, etc., targeting 5,000 households multiple times during the year.
That sounds right.
That sounds right.
Okay. Somebody make a motion.
I mean, I think the EG allows you to say quarterly, it's the quarterly at the end that bothers me, but I really don't care, as long as we get $20,000 for postcards, I think we're gonna have a great set of engagement opportunities. I think we are too, okay,
We need a motion.
yeah,
This is gonna be fun.
Right.
What, we did have a motion on the floor earlier though.
Yeah, I had the motion earlier.
okay, thank you.
Mark, you Bill seconds.
Everyone to walk it back.
Okay, so
It's my fault.
there was a motion, second discussion, it goes to, the verbiage will go to mailers, e.g. postcards, comma, then city
No. No Zen City,
Just sure.
just survey.
survey,
Nothing about it.
I think if we have Zen sitting there, it's going to confuse people because
Yeah.
okay.
that's already budgeted.
Okay, so let's try this over again. Mailers, e.g. postcards, survey engagement, comma, etc., targeting 5,000 households multiple times during the year, $20,000.
As said.
Aye.
Do we have a second?
Have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Excellent. It's 7:05. Can we keep going until 7:30 so we can get this done? Well, we
Yeah.
might be able to get it done sooner, but we need to get it done.
Okay, my part of it is was the flyer for the splash. It's real simple, people. I talked to, Craig, and he basically told me it was 11,000, circulation. Flyers cost $1,500 per flyer or per circulation. I figured we can budget in, $6,000. They'll do 4 a year. They do everything. All we have to do is give them what we want and they print them, they stuff them and everything. It's not
Okay.
another 1,500.
So $6,000.
So six,
So does all of us agree with this? Let's go it this way. Does all of us agree with $6,000? Is that an appropriate budget? Okay,
I make a motion that we go $6,000 for the splash.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oh,
Boom. Thank you.
That's an easy one.
So we're at 26,000 right now.
Yes, now we're at
And when you
26,000.
think about it, that, we really upped our touches here to,
Yeah, I mean, if we're hitting 11,000 in circulation plus 5,000 in a household, so you're reaching 16,000 potential unique individuals between one push. Outside of social media, which is getting. So,
It's not fair.
yeah. It's great.
Thank you. I'd like to move before, hold on, I'd like to put miscellaneous line item and event funding to the last. I'd like to go to video history of Liberty Lake. So we have a lot of newcomers and one of the things that we want to maintain, because it's the culture of Liberty Lake, is the history. And I actually brought this up for $6,000 based on my experience when I've done some videos. And I don't know if the group thinks that that's a good outreach opportunity for people, especially for the newcomers, new residents that we have coming in, or not. So I'd like to have some discussion on that. If we keep it, keep the amount, or scratch it.
Summer, yeah, you brought up a good point. That's what we're going
Well, this isn't gonna be the same point, is it? I don't know.
there.
Okay, yeah, well, I was just gonna say, if we care about something like this, maybe it's under media engagement or some sort of visual media or some sort of digital media or some
Okay.
sort of, something like that, because, who knows how far we'll get with this, or somebody else, maybe that same year, somebody else decides they're gonna do one, and some, friends of the defunct Pavilion Park or whatever, they're gonna present that, and we won't need to do that, and we'll just champion their thing. Or maybe that's an in-house thing that it's not, that's more fun and sort of ad hoc and doesn't end up being a full-on production. Or maybe we end up with something else. So I would say, love the idea of some sort of multimedia budget or production or digital outreach, but not specifying the project.
Okay, I like that. So a multimedia production is 6,000.
I'd say 5,000.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, 5,000. So now we're gonna have a multimedia production for $5,000. Motion?
I make a motion that we have a multimedia line item for $5,000.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things we got to that we were unable to put any amount to. And one of the discussions was we have a miscellaneous line item. And then we also had an event fund and we never got to putting any or allocating a budget amount on there. So I'd like to go back and rediscuss that on what we were thinking or what we are thinking now.
just think about
What's an event?
contingencies.
My question is, what is an event?
That was my question.
We don't put on events.
I agree.
So I don't even
Let's
think
scratch
we need
it.
an event, but,
Scratch,
okay.
easy.
And what was the other thing you brought up?
miscellaneous.
Just miscellaneous? Hell, yeah, I think if we want to throw another 3,000 into it just as a buffer, I don't think.
It doesn't hurt to at least have something there in case something comes up
Right.
next day, we're like, oh. We want
We
this.
need
Oh,
supplies, we need flip
maybe able to fund
we
it.
need We need jobs. And the price is going up.
Yeah, it's the problem, you know, there's supply and demand.
But that does speak to supply. you know,
Yes,
Incidental
I
supply.
would say the miscellaneous, is 5,000.
Perfect. We need scissors,
Pens.
we need tape.
You may actually want to specify a few things of examples of what
That's what I'm thinking.
miscellaneous could include, just in case anybody's really scrutinizing this.
Right.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
We
go.
talked about miscellaneous. What have we not had this year that we would have liked to been able to purchase that would fall under this miscellaneous category?
What about,
Because I'm, you know, I mean, we've got our printing covered basically, we've got our postcards, that's a whole other part of the stuff, but what's. I'm struggling to wrap my head around over the last 2
What were you
years.
gonna say, Cynthia?
I was thinking of when we're at the farmer's market and you're under there and it's hot, and how I mentioned that water would be nice to offer. when
We
people
shouldn't have to
come
buy
up.
that, cities should have to buy that, shouldn't be our budget.
Or, I don't know, something along those lines, so when we're showing up at an event, we have something with us that's different than the mailers, it's like a cookie, water, I don't know.
Can't give up, you
That's
can't,
an example.
We can't give away.
we can't give away anything, remember, because we can't buy, give away,
More flags.
because they were donated.
I do think that we should sort of have a baseline that says, whenever we're present at anything, we should offer an opportunity for community engagement. It was such a revelation to me when I watched families participate in which is your favorite park. Now, we didn't bring back the results of that. We were surprised about a couple of things.
I
But
took pictures of these, so I have it, yeah.
so I think
Redundancy.
if there isn't something that we know we want to pursue, we should have a list of things, perhaps questions, that are just ready. So that whenever we're there, if there's nothing else, we can do that thing. And it can always be as simple, well, most of the time it can be as simple as a flip chart with voting dollars. As long as we get somebody like Robin to set it up, you don't want me doing the graphics. Reading.
You and me both.
But so there's some.
so maybe that's event supplies,
Yeah.
because we are at events and we
Yeah.
need
And if we're
supplies
doing it
there,
more,
right?
Yes.
So event supplies,
See, like, question I have, okay, at our booth at Barefoot Park, who paid for the pins, the pink pins?
Just city funds, I think.
See, that's,
It could,
wouldn't that, like, next year, wouldn't that be something that come out of our budget?
or it could come out of parks. I'm not sure.
Parks and Arts, yeah. So that's just running something that.
yeah, so maybe that's basic office
Event
and art
supplies.
supplies, basic engagement, materials,
Would,
flip charts.
would we have any other miscellaneous costs beyond event supplies? Which could be kind of
Hoodies.
a broad category.
So do we call this event supplies?
Under miscellaneous.
Yes,
Yeah,
uh-huh,
event supplies.
yes,
My thought is that would look better to anybody who's scrutinizing this at the next.
Right,
class.
right.
You're being more specific by saying event supplies versus miscellaneous, whatever that is.
Yeah.
okay, so event supplies. Yeah, $5,000, I think is what.
And if you wanna list it out a little further, I think you could safely say things like including basic art supplies.
Yeah, give a few examples.
Office. Not materials, but what, supplies,
Bingo
Yeah,
pens.
office/art.
office/art supplies.
Yeah.
Markers, paper.
Yeah,
I did make a list where you remember, I said scissors, markers, remember?
$3.
Said, yeah, I was like, it was one of my moments and
dollar store and spend $20.
For the purpose of community engagement.
That's a great. Yeah.
but I think that is, I don't think that's out of reach to say $5,000 for these event supplies to include, not be limited to, art supplies, office supplies, paper, easel.
Your phrasing of event supplies could also go into if you do decide to do one of Cynthia's events.
Yeah,
Well, I
Right.
mean, could we use them for banners also?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, let's put banners, we got art supplies, office supplies, banners. Posters. Signage.
Just signing.
Yeah, you got some
Signage.
examples.
That's good enough.
Yeah,
I
that's,
think
they
that-
get the idea.
They got the gist of it.
Okay,
I make a
so,
motion that we have a miscellaneous, and I'm not gonna list everything you just put in there, a miscellaneous line for $5,000.
Did you say miscellaneous?
okay, so,
Not event supplies.
Event supplies, miscellaneous event supplies.
Miscellaneous items include, and then parenthetically, event supplies. Well, we.
Yeah.
okay,
And then we, I mean, within miscellaneous, we could either list one more sort of a broader sort of thing, so that when we decide we want something, that it fits somewhere in our budget,
Right.
and other miscellaneous items.
So what's the exact line item called then?
yeah, so what would be the line item?
Well, line item is miscellaneous,
Miscellaneous expense.
miscellaneous expenses, and it should be broken down, there should be a subheading, there should be a sub-line.
And
I would recommend something more specific.
Just,
But I'm-
miscellaneous.
I'm not in charge. I'm just giving my recommendation.
just say event supplies
yeah,
and other items as needed. And then those things that are listed.
I think that will look better for the people who are screwing.
Okay, so I heard on the table is event supplies and other items as needed, included but not limited to art supplies, office supplies, banners, signage, for $5,000.
Oh my God.
Okay, somebody make a motion.
I think Mark did.
I said, yeah, I already said it.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Jennifer doesn't, so that was,
She is gonna be sorely disappointed.
Jennifer, you're missing one.
this is fun. Those were the ones that we had, and we talked about last week. Now, are there any others that we maybe have thought about from, last month to this month, or even now as we're talking? Is that a full line item and budget for this group that you feel comfortable with? What's our total?
36.
Cool.
Yeah, I think with what we're
I think
mandated to
yeah.
do, going back to Bill's piece, right, like what we're mandated to do based on the ordinance and engaging with the community. Those are the pieces that we've missed or lacked this year. You know, we haven't been able to do mailers or postcards or have signage at events and other things. To drive that citizen engagement forward, and so, I mean, I can't think of anything else off the top of my
Right,
head.
and I think that what we have done, what we've outlined here, presumes, really quite a bit of work
Yeah,
already. So,
yeah,
I'm impressed. Yeah, we came together pretty good on this.
Mark's gonna retire and then it's gonna fall on all of us. It's what's gonna happen.
I'm already-
That's what's gonna happen, I know. Okay,
Bill, are you talking about the work of process that occurred last hour, or the work you're gonna have to do
No,
next
I'm
year?
talking about
to
the
do all
work
this?
that now
Now
it's
this is-
presumed.
Yeah.
They're asking for money.
Yeah,
I think
Yep, I agree.
Check that.
okay,
And the thing that I got from last night's meeting, even though I didn't, Phil Pro Tim was looking at me, saying, you don't have anything to say, Mark? And the reason is because there was a lot to digest there, and I just didn't want to open my mouth. But after listening to the council and their recommendations and everything, when it came to budget, it was like, no holds bar. That's what I got out of it. Don't be, I thought from what they were saying, don't be afraid to ask.
yeah, that's what I got too.
Don't be afraid to ask. And if it's 36,000, I think we're fine. I think it'll approve. So,
Yeah, because I don't think that that's a huge amount to ask for.
because I have no idea what the Parks and Arts budget is. I have no idea what the Planning Commission budget is. I do know what the Salary Commission budget is. Zero.
I was gonna say, I hope
We don't have one. We only meet twice a year, so.
Okay, so, everybody, a great job, working on this, it's our first budget.
So how do we, where do we go from here? How's it get, are you taking it to
So,
council or how does it work?
David,
I think it got, well, I think.
I take it,
Right, it ties into, the written report thing. But I will also, you've all made a vote, I will convey those votes, to Mark McAvoy.
So this'll be, it'll go on to this?
Yes.
And- Okay,
This, what is that?
yeah, it's written.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be a part of the, assuming you wanna add it to the report.
Yes, yes, I like it. It's right there. Yep.
And then, depending on what possibly happens the rest of this evening, that report will then be, made available to the city council as soon as, by the end of this month.
so what I need to know is, since this was done relatively expediently, do you need 1 week to read over it? And then, no, this report is suffice? This one here,
Or are you moving on to the next item?
yes, I am. Written report 2023, next
Yeah.
item.
I thought you were going home.
What?
no, I was like, I thought, making sure I was looking at the right one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's good.
Really?
Yeah. What's wrong with it?
Oh, well, I just drafted it up this afternoon.
Well, you did good, Robin. Don't count it.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I went through this and it pretty much covered everything that we've done for this year.
Okay, I'm gonna go with, yes,
I'm not suggesting any modification to this, but reading this prompts me to say that sooner rather than later, I think
Yes,
we need to create, when we say we get 650 responses, we need to be able to say, and that represents 12%, or we, if nobody else does
Okay,
that.
my question is, okay, and just to David and maybe Mark, Kansas City, don't they have that capability to come up with the percentage?
Oh, yeah.
They should.
We've got that.
Yeah,
So that's all, this
that's
is
already,
going forward, I think that it won't be good enough for us to say 892 people responded. We need to be able to track. And what we hope will be an improvement.
yeah, that's why we got Zen City, and yeah, you're right. That's,
If I'm understanding your comment correctly, when the city administrator reported the results of that first
Yes.
survey to the city council a couple of weeks ago, he did acknowledge the split between residents versus non-residents. And then whatever the population was divided into the,
Precisely.
650 for the total.
I think we should know that. Somebody shouldn't be telling us.
I would agree with that.
I would agree,
I can look at it.
yeah, we need to know some of those metrics.
So, anyway, let's finish the report discussion, because this feeds into the same conversation over that.
Okay, so I'm good with it, I'm good with it.
Okay, I'll
stay tuned for E, it's gonna be the other agenda, it's gonna be enlightening,
okay.
E for enlightening.
How can I add?
So on the written report, can we should we make a motion on that?
I would recommend that you make a motion for, if you want to have Robin do the final draft on it, assign somebody to, add like the stuff, your final lines that we discussed.
I will do that,
okay.
I will do the final draft.
Assuming you want to do that.
Yeah, because I already have,
She's got it on the computer.
yeah. Okay.
So was there a motion or?
So I'll make a motion to, have Robin draft the final version of the written report as, presented, including the additions of the finalized budget items that we discussed. And
I second it.
All in favor?
How you gonna-
And opposed, okay. Did anybody oppose? E, discussion on process for CDC related surveys. So
Yeah,
that's.
so Jed, right?
Yeah.
Spencer.
Jen Spencer, okay, so he made an interesting comment on the meeting, and I feel like that kind of brought about some of the pieces, and then, you know, brought up a conversation point yesterday about it as well, which is, we as a commission, our mandate is to, you know, connect with constituents, right? I mean, that's kind of broadly, that's our role. We're supposed to be bringing things back to city council, and from a communication standpoint, as far as this was going on, this is what's happening. And back to Bill, back to your point, as far as knowing data and the information up to this point, and I think in part because we don't have things defined, what I want to really focus on is we're really left out of the loop. Once we push messaging out, we have no idea what the actual details are until after the fact. So we don't get those constant updates as far as what's actually taking place. I think, in my opinion, I think there's two things that I would recommend, that I'm putting forward from a recommendation standpoint to our commission. So one is, to develop, basically standard operating procedures for our commission as far as how we deal with surveys. So that means, how do we vet ideas? How do we determine the validity of moving that idea forward? What questions do we ask and why? Our target audience, you know, all of those pieces, trying to understand that. How do we integrate with city management? How do we integrate with city council on those pieces, depending on what it is? And having a very defined process for actually how we move conversation from, and I'll use it because it was kind of the impetus for this, from dog park idea and conversation to, okay, now we're going to survey residents. And I think part of that, based on the feedback that I felt like we received last night, the way I understood it from Councilmember Kurtz, was that, you know, it's kind of on us to figure those things out. You know, when an idea comes forward and when we start actually surveying it. I think part of that also needs to include the analysis and looking at that data and the information. And being able to present that information back to council. I think that's part of our mandate within the ordinance, that we're supposed to provide recommendations. It's hard to provide recommendations when we don't have the data and the information to do that effectively. So being able to create the information, you know, take the idea from concept to execution to reporting, and all the way through, I think we just need to, I feel like, in my opinion, need to develop a process for what that looks like. So
I have a quick question too.
Sure.
Right here. Is that, this might be good to continue for next month. Is that a process that you could develop so we could review and comment on? I just need that on something I can see.
yes, I don't have a written process after it. Kind of surprising. But I think that's what I'm recommending we move forward with, whether it's, you know, me individually or, you know, whether we want to put a subcommittee on it, that's up to the group as a whole. But I feel like it's important for us to define that process, because as we continue to try and engage, and then as we try and execute on these ideas as far as marketing, so we talked about, you know, putting up flyers. Well, what are we talking about actually putting on there? What makes the list? What doesn't? Like, we don't have a criteria and a process for us to follow as a commission, and I think that's important for us to establish at least as a baseline. You know, it doesn't mean the process isn't going to be perfect to begin with. You know, we're going to try it, and we're probably going to have to make changes to it because something's going to come up. But at least if we have a starting place for us to work through these pieces, so that when Parks and Arts or whoever comes to us with an idea, we know how to feed it through our system, and then in turn engage with city management and or city council. Because that was the other big piece I felt like what I heard last night, and if somebody heard something else differently, was that we weren't mandated to follow just what city council was doing.
Right.
You know, and I think that resonated with me too, which is, you know.
Except the thing that, I got that same feeling that you did, but then when we were gonna do the dog park, the dog
Yeah.
park thing, we were gonna go out and survey, find
Yeah.
out. And we were told no, because it's not on the city council's agenda.
Right.
Okay, from what I heard last night, it didn't sound like anything we wanna go out, or that we wanna go out and survey. From what I got, and I think you did too, Aaron, we don't have to wait for city council to say, go for it.
Well, I think that's what we need to do.
Yes, that's
So it's
exactly what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
because I was here differently that last night than what we heard 6 weeks ago, when we were told that, no, you can't go out and do it.
Which is
because it's not
fine.
on the agenda.
Yeah, which is, I mean, so it's a good learning, right?
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
if, but if we have a process that's council approved for our commission, now we have a process to follow. And maybe there do need to be some check boxes along the way. Like, okay, do we need to check a box saying, okay, city leadership on board or not?
yeah,
Or do we gather their feedback? And at what point do we say gathering feedback and gathering approval, which are two different things, right?
yeah,
So, I think if we can define that for us, and I think if we can work through this through the rest of this year, I think it can set us up for success in 24.
I think that's an excellent idea. So how would you like to do it? Subcommittee, is anybody interested? We have it for 3 people without going to the quorum.
If Mark is not for this, I mean, if Aaron isn't, I like the idea of starting with someone, and I think Aaron is in a great position to do this, creating a framework that makes sense to you, and it would give us a conversation starter. And then we can decide, maybe we do need a subcommittee after we have some discussion.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's get the framework set up. Let's bring it up at the next meeting on our agenda.
okay, so
Let's
that's
hash
an action.
through it and then, yeah. And then maybe we won't need a subcommittee.
Maybe not,
No,
because
Unless. Might just want to do it.
I do have things that's possibly part of the SOP or framework of this, and maybe it's just because it's the reverse of the cycle, but what I heard a lot of there, especially our tips, transportation one and other things, there's them wanting us to disseminate information, right? So is that part of this?
I would think so, yeah.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely.
if so, let's maybe, again, you're working on that framework, but a real clear, sort of, one side of the coin and the other.
Mhm.
Which, I can see that coming up if we were doing the process of, we generate the ideas, the feedback and, analysis reporting. But then maybe is it just flip it around the other way, coming from them, or is that part of our holistic kind of thing? Because when we were sitting there, it sure sounded like they had a list of things that they maybe wanted us to do, and we're over here kind of generating ideas to come up with. So before we get too far in any direction, and we come back and meet at the table again with them.
Sure.
But then also I just want to say, can we maybe figure out how to engage with them more? Because clearly maybe some people didn't find it as helpful. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I, one of the things, and I sent this to David and expected it would be on a future discussion. But one of the things that the ordinance says is establish effective relationships with existing and future city commissions. So I wondered if maybe in answer to that question, we don't make assignments among us that would say that Cynthia is a liaison with this commission and Bill with another. And I would think one might, thought it would probably be Robin, but we should have a stated, at least person that is connecting routinely with the city council. I don't know if it's the mayor pro tem or whether it might be Annie, who seemed to be a prime mover in establishing this commission. But maybe we answer that question by making some specific assignments that ensures that we're having ongoing conversations with all of the interested parties. Does that kind of?
it does. I think I've found so far, we've done a little bit of that, but there was a different energy and people answer things differently when they're in that sort of group and we're as a group and they're as a group. So I think some things came up there that were useful or gave a different picture of it. I don't know. To me, a commission would engage regularly or I don't know, just more comfortably with who they're advising or who they're, any of that stuff. So,
Like quarterly or semi-annually.
yeah, and again, the form of a report, yes,
Is this one, how about change that from an annual workshop?
yeah.
To quarterly or something. Is that-
Yeah, semi-annually or,
Twice a year would be good.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna put, I put 2024 expectations plan, CEC, one of the bullet items, the CEC will continue an annual workshop, semi-annually, okay?
That was a good meeting.
I just, cause
That
I
was
think,
good.
and that's why I don't wanna spend much time on this meeting from it, but it's so fresh still, I feel like there was something to that we should acknowledge.
Okay,
Yeah, write your notes as what you're feeling now, so you don't lose them.
yeah, I don't, yeah, so, what do I have on my notes now? Homework. Aaron, you have the, you're gonna do the framework for the
Yeah,
process.
you can wrap that up.
Okay. Does Cindy have any tips in there? Cindy will continue and elaborate on her points that you provided us for next meeting.
Yeah, I think we got through a lot of them, but I like what Bill was saying about like building a network. And how we're gonna do that. I think that'd be really exciting to know that we all have, we're liaison with someone here. Like someone here to liaison for like a community, like the HOA Association and River District, or like one of us can do that, or so when we need to reach that demographic, somebody here at this table can be our person.
Okay.
I think so.
So we can discuss that, yeah, yeah, we'll have you, that's your homework.
Okay.
I know, anybody else want any homework? Anybody? No. I like that, no, everybody's. So we have a lot of things on for the agenda to discuss for next month. And the next month's meeting is September the 20th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. Now, we had a really great discussion tonight. We went and we really went through a lot of, we made it through our budget items, our list, and good workshop we had. So anything else for the good of the order?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting and go on.
Seconded, okay, and it's so, if no one else has anything else for the good of the order, meeting adjourned.